Hello, welcome back to my channel and to this setup and flip through of my 2022 reading journal. So this isn't actually a new notebook, it's the same one as my 2021 reading journal, which I only started in September, so there's still loads of pages left over. This is the classic bullet journal notebook a lot of people use. It's an A5 1917 Leuchtturm dotted notebook, and it really fulfills everything you could want in a bullet journal, except that the pages are maybe a bit on the thin side, so you can see your pen marks through the page. But other than that, it is perfect and I love it. So my very first 2022 spread is going to go here, and it's going to be a rainbow collage, just to be a pretty way to mark the new year, but it was actually the very last thing I did to set up this journal, so you'll have to wait to see it right at the end of this video and the final flip through. So instead, the first thing I did was fill out this bookshelf spread, which will be for all of the books I read this year. This kind of bookshelf setup is super popular and I really love it. I've sketched out about 40 books here in total, but obviously you could do this with more or less. And as I finish each book, I will go around them in pen, write in the title and then colour them in. This is what my completed 2021 version of the spread ended up looking like. I had 5 shelves instead of 4, so it looks a lot more cramped, and I don't love the colours I used. I was trying to match them to the actual colour of the book, but I think this year I'm going to be a bit more mindful of picking colours that actually match and look good together. Some people use a colour code for this spread to refer to, for example, the format they read the book in, so they use a different colour for whether it was a physical book, an ebook, an audiobook, etc. And some people colour them in based on the star rating they gave the book, so I haven't figured out yet if I want to do something like that, but I'm definitely going to put more effort into making sure it looks good at the end. For my 2022 goals, which I title here as reading goals, but they're more like bookish goals, I have 11 of them, and I'm going to be doing a full video soon where I talk about them in depth and also discuss how they differ from my 2021 goals and whether I managed to complete those ones. So for each goal, I draw a box which is 10 centimeters long and 2.5 millimeters tall, and then I fill these in kind of like progress bars. So if I'm halfway done with a goal, I'll colour in the first 5 centimeters of the box, etc. This goal spread is one I've used so many times before for my goals pages in I think every single previous bullet journal I've ever had, and I still really like it and still enjoy using it. I don't have a goal this year about a specific number of subscribers I'd like to reach on this channel, because I learned in 2021 that you really just can't predict those sorts of things. But if you would like to subscribe for more bookish content, then I would love to have you come along. Next, we have the most basic and important spread, which is just my 2022 reading log. It is really easy. I just wrote out the title for it in the one kind of fancy writing I can do, and then put a little strip of washi tape just across the page to make it look prettier. I always need 2 double spreads actually to list all of my reads, so I also put this washi tape on the next page. Most of my washi tape is some anonymous generic stuff I get off Amazon, but this one I'm using here is a specific one from the Amber Davenport shop on Etsy, which I really like and will link below. Here is my reading log from 2021, which is exactly what this will look like once it's filled in. I just write down the number of the book, the title and author, and then what rating I'm giving it. It is super easy and a spread I would recommend to anyone, whether you're a bullet journal expert or just a very nervous beginner who's feeling overwhelmed. I promise you, this is so easy. Next is a brand new spread I'm trying out for the first time in 2022. Previously, I did a separate reading tracker for each month, which looked like these, so just a simple bar chart to show how many pages I was reading throughout the month. And I do like them, but with my 2022 reading journal, I'm experimenting by moving away from monthly trackers that I have to reset up every 4 to 5 weeks to yearly ones like this, that I spend a little longer setting up in the first place, but then don't have to worry about for 12 months. So I painstakingly drew out this table for every single day of the year, and I will simply check off the days when I read. Again, I'm not sure if there will be any colour coding involved with how much I read per day, or maybe I'll just write in the number of pages in a black pen. It all remains to be decided. But in lieu of any doodling or drawing on this page, which I just know isn't my strong suit and would have taken way too long, I went for a rainbow pattern of washi tape, which I think just looks really nice. This reading stats page was based on one I saw on TikTok, and I will link that user and their reading journal video below. It's pretty simple, so for each month I will write down how many books I finished, how many pages I read, how many days of the month I did any reading on, then my average rating for the books I finished, whether or not I took part in a readathon that month, and how many new books I got. It's exactly the same spread as last year because I really love it and find it very useful. This year, I'm once again going to be taking part in the Readathon, which is a readathon / reading challenge run by Kayla at Books and Lala, who may be my favourite booktuber of all time. Last year, I included my Readathon reads in an overall readathon spread, but I decided to give it its own one for this year. And let me just say that while I love how this turned out, it was the spread that took the absolute longest of everything I set up in this video, except maybe for the rainbow collage that I did off camera. I don't have a here's one I made earlier clip for this spread, obviously because this is the first time I'm doing it, but what I'm going to do with this is to simply print out the covers of the books that I end up reading for it and then sticking them in for each month. So here is a mock-up of what this could potentially look like in a few months. And next is the readathon spread that I mentioned. At the moment, all I can do is write the title, but here is last year's version, and you can see that for each readathon, I draw a little box in a colour I think matches the readathon's vibe, and then I write out my little TBR, and depending on whether or not I actually read the book that month, I will fill in the little checkbox for it. On this double page, I got to do 2 more bookshelf spreads because I love how they look. These are to house all of my unread books split between fiction and non-fiction. And then once I've hopefully read them in 2022, I will just colour in the book. I also drew a few extra books that I can fill in once I start getting new books this year, and a cute little plant too. I am absolutely obsessed with these bookshelf spreads, and I've seen so many other people use them, so I'll link some videos in the description to other people's reading journals so you can check them out as well. My main tip for if you want to do this page is to make sure you write the book titles on in the right direction to match how they look in real life. It's not a huge deal if you don't, obviously, but last year I did get this wrong and it kind of annoyed me. And at this point, it was the one and luckily only time my phone cut out while filming, but you get the impression. My next spread is another new one. It's a genre tracker. It's super easy, just a table with one column for the different genres and then a second column where I'll keep track of how many books in that genre I will read. I think I'm just going to fill this one out as a tally chart, so it's incredibly simple. I looked at my reading from last year, as well as all the unread books I own, to work out which genres to include here, but I've left space at the bottom for one extra genre if it turns out I forgot something. Also, this spread was meant to be purple. Genre is just a very purple word to me, but for some reason when it was time to set it up, I reached for the green pen instead. No idea why. And opposite is my favourite book of the month spread, where I draw out a slightly wonky grey box for each month, and inside I will stick the book cover of my favourite book I read that month. It is pretty self-explanatory. One way this spread has changed from last year is that last time I wrote the months inside the boxes, which meant that once I stuck in the book covers, I could no longer see what month was what. So this time I wrote the names underneath. That's another little top tip for you. This next double page is going to be where I keep track of all of my new books. Again, it's really easy and exactly the same as last year because it works so well for me. The pink washi is just a little bit of decoration, but basically in the spread I will list out the title and author of any new books I get, and then I'll draw a little checkbox that I will fill in with the same pink felt tip if I've hauled that book on my channel. Now at this point in filming I was severely lagging. This all took me over 2 hours to set up, and I would definitely not recommend doing this all in one go, no matter how long you've been bullet journaling, but I pressed through as best I could. And so next I did 2 different booktube related trackers. This first page is a yearly tracker where I will tick off each day I post a video on this channel, and the second page is for tracking my subscribers. I spent a long time trying to find a subscriber tracker on Pinterest and Google Images that was nice enough that I liked it, but also easy enough that I could copy it well. And let me just tell you, there was not a lot of overlap between those 2 categories. So in the end, I just drew a load of circles, wrote some numbers inside, and then the plan is once I reach that number of subscribers, I will colour in the corresponding circle. Again, my subscriber number isn't something I'm fixating on, so this spread is more of an experiment to just see how it goes, rather than something I'm going to be religiously thinking about and checking in on. And then I did a similar pair of trackers for my Bookstagram account. It's exactly the same on the left page, but for the follower tracker, I did manage to get some inspiration off Pinterest, and I will link those sources below. Again, I've written out a few different follower numbers, and then I'll colour them in once I hopefully reach them. And you could also do this exact spread and instead label the Polaroids with the months of the year and then fill in how many followers you have at the end of each month. Okay, on to my final spreads at last. First off, we have this library book page where I will simply list out all of the books I read from the library. I started using this app called BorrowBox, which you can link to your local library. I'm not sure how it would work in other parts of the UK or even abroad, but for me, I already had a library account from my library card years and years ago, so it just synced up and automatically means I can borrow ebooks and audiobooks from any library in my borough. And I also have to say that on my original library card, I had like £40 worth of late fees from years ago, which is why I stopped using it, but that doesn't seem to be a problem on the app, which is nice. And finally, I wanted to make a special page for my reread of the Shades of Magic series by V.E. Schwab. One of my reading goals this year is to reread the first 2 books and then finally read A Conjuring of Light and complete the trilogy. So I thought it would be fun to set up this page specifically to track that. I'll stick in pictures of the book covers, and then I have a little space to write when I started and finished each book and then the star rating I gave it. Both The Darker Shade of Magic and The Gathering of Shadows were originally 5-star reads for me, but that was like over 5 years ago, so I'm really hoping I love them as much next time. Okay, time for the final flip through. It is a week later. I finished everything off and corrected my mistakes. So here you go, my 2022 reading journal setup.